everyone. How are you today? So I hope you are doing great. So today we are going to discuss another new literary piece which entitled I Know Why the Caged Birds Sing by Maya Angelou. So this story will inspire us to fight whatever battles may come into our lives. So this will also give us a lesson about accepting ourselves regardless on the judgments of our cruel society. So before we will go deeper into this topic, let us know first our contents. So we have here the background of the work, author's background, character web, characterization, plot, style of the author, themes, cultural implication, implication of the title, and the personal evaluation and conclusion. So let's proceed to the background of the work. So I Know Why the Caged Bird Sing is the first of 7 autobiographical works by American writer Maya Angelou published in 1969. The book chronicles her life from age 3 through age 16, recounting an unsettled and sometimes traumatic childhood that included rape and racism. So it became one of the most widely read and thought books written by an African American woman. So the book title came from the poem Sympathy by Paul Laurence Dunbar. So against the backdrop of racial tensions in the South, Angelou confronted the traumatic events of her childhood and explored the evolution of her strong identity as an African American woman. So her individual and cultural feelings of displacement were imaged through her passions and literature, which proved both healing and empowering. So before, in the history of Black American, they have no freedom and the lack of power in a society. White people treat Black people as a different from them. So they are a slave, low class, ugly, and poor. So after the 1968 assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., Angelou was inspired by a meeting with writer James Baldwin and cartoonist Jules Fever to write I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings as a way of dealing with the death of her friend, and how drew attention to her own personal struggles with racism. So the book was immediately popular and remained in a bestseller list for 2 years. So Angelou co-wrote the screenplay for the 1979 television movie version of the story, which stars Esther Rule as Mama and Diane Carroll as Vivian. Angelou was inspired to write this book or her story because she wants to share her story to inspire other people on how she overcome those challenges in her life during her childhood days. So Angelou wants to break the racism and aim for the equal treat of people, not just for herself, but to all people who experience racism. Next, we will go to the author's background. So the author of I Know Why the Caged Birds Sing is Maya Angelou. So Maya Angelou, an acclaimed American poet, storyteller, activist, and autobiographer. Maya Angelou was born at St. Louis, Missouri. So Angelou had a broad career as a singer, dancer, actress, composer, and Hollywood's first female black director, but became most famous as a writer, editor, essayist, playwright, and poet. As a civil rights activist, Angelou worked for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. So she was also an educator and served as the Reynolds Professor of American Studies at Wake Forest University. By 1975, Ruth Carol A. Neubauer in Southern Women Writers, The New Generation. Angelou was recognized as a spokesperson for all people who are committed to raising the moral standard of living in the United States. So, she serves on 2 presidential committees for Gerald Ford in 1975 and Jimmy Carter in 1977. So in 2000, Angelou was awarded the National Medal of Artists by President Bill Clinton. So in 2010, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the highest civilian honor in the U.S. by President Barack Obama. Angelou was awarded over 50 honorary degrees before her death. So Anjuru is really an intelligent and independent woman. So she loves to read books and she loves the work of Shakespeare, especially when she was a child. So she highly read the book of Shakespeare. Even Shakespeare is a white American. So next is the character web. So in the story, there are lots of characters. Since there are lots of characters, we only include in character web the important characters in the story. So we have here Maya. So Maya is the protagonist in the story. She is the curious, intelligent African American girl growing up in segregated South. So we also have here Billy. So Billy is the brother of Maya. He always protects Maya whenever someone tried to bully her when she was a child. He is intelligent, loving African American male, rebels against the family and society. So have here the mama. So mama is the grandmother of Maya and Bailey. So she raised Maya and Bailey when the parents of Maya and Bailey got divorced. We also have here Mrs. Flowers. So she is a friend of and a mentor of Maya. When Maya is muted, when she was raped by Mr. Freeman, Mrs. Flower is the one who broke her silence. So she gave Maya an inspirable books since Maya loves to read books. We also have here Daddy Billy. Daddy Billy is the father of Maya and Billy. He is selfish, unfulfilled pretender, and he didn't show love to his two child. And the next one is Vivian. Vivian is the mother of Maya and Billy. She is a fun-loving, modern African American beauty. So next is the characterization. So we have here Maya. Maya is the protagonist of the story, named Margaret Ann Johnson at birth. Writes about her experience growing up as a black girl in rural South and in the cities of St. Louis, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. So Maya has an unusual degree of curiosity and perceptiveness, haunted by her displacement from her biological parents and her sense that she is ugly. So Maya often isolates herself, escaping into her reading. So Angelou's autobiography traces the start of her development into an independent, wise, and compassionate woman. So next we have Bailey. Bailey is Maya's older brother. Like Maya, he is intelligent and mature beyond his age. Though Bailey enjoys sports and fears will in social situation, he also shows deep compassion for his isolated sister. So Bailey senses the negative influence of racism, but to protect himself from this fear, he chooses to anesthetize himself and subdue his soul until the negative moment passes. So next is Mama. So Mama is Maya and Bailey's paternal grandmother. Mama raises them for most of their childhood. She owns the only store in the black sections of Stamps, Arkansas, and it serves as a central gathering place for the black community. So she raises the children according to stern Christian values and strict rules. Two, she never reacts with emotions. So both children feel her love. Next is Vivian, Billy and Maya's mother. Although she has a nursing degree, she earns most of her money working in gambling parlors or by gambling herself. So, Baby and Mama have very different values. They are both strong, supportive women, a somewhat inattentive mother. So, Vivian nevertheless treats her children with love and respect. So next is Daddy Bailey. So Daddy Bailey is Maya and Bailey's father. Despite his lively personality, he is handsome, vain, and selfish. So he stands out among the other rural black because his proper English and his flashy possessions. Maya implies that Daddy Billy pretensions result from his disenfranchisement as a black man in the United States. So Daddy Billy does not respect or care with Maya. So next is Mrs. Flowers. a black aristocrat living in Stamps, Arkansas. One of Maya's idols, she became the first person to prod Maya out of her silence after Maya's rapes, taking an interest in Maya and making herself special. So Maya respects Mrs. Flowers mainly for encouraging her love of literature. So next is Willie. So Willie is Mama's son who is in his 30s, injured in a childhood accident. So Uncle Willie lives his entire life with Mama. So he suffers insults and jokes because of his disabilities. So like Mama, he is a devout Christian and he acts as a children's disciplinarian and protector. So next is Daddy Kiddle. So Vivian's second husband, whom she marries after her children join her in California. So although Maya initially tries to dismiss him, Daddy Kiddle becomes the only real father Maya knows. So he combines the virtues of strength and tenderness and enjoys thinking of himself as Maya's father. So introduces her to his conman friends and teaches her how to play poker. So a successful businessman, despite of his lack of education, he remains modest and confident. So next is Mr. Freeman. So before Daddy Kiddle, it was Mr. Freeman's first Vivian's live-in boyfriend in St. Louis. So when Maya and Bailey moved to St. Louis, Mr. Freeman sexually molests and rapes Maya, taking advantage of her need for physical affections and her innocence, so self-conscious natures. In retrospect, Maya feels partly responsible for Mr. Freeman's fate, and her guilt over his murder haunts her throughout her childhood. The next is Mrs. Beulah Kellenan, a southern white woman in Stamps and Maya's first employer. Perhaps unwittingly, she hides her racism under a self-deceptive veneer and gentility. So Mrs. Kellenan's disrespect for Maya wished to be called by her. Given name leads to Maya's subtle rebellious smashing of Cullinan's china. Next is Glory. Si Glory is Mrs. Cullinan's cook, a descendant of the slaves once owned by the Cullinan's family. Her acceptance of Mrs. Cullinan's condescending and racist renaming practices contrast with Maya's resistance. So next is Mr. Edward Don Levy, so a white speaker at Maya's 8th grade graduation ceremony. So he insulted the black community by talking condescendingly, but not explicitly, of their limited potential in a racist society. So his racist tone cast a pall over the graduation and infuriates Maya. So next is Henry Reed, the valedictorian of Maya's 8th grade graduation class. So he leads the class in a Let Every Voice and Sing, popularly known as the Black National Anthem, and renews his community pride following Mr. Don Levy's speech. This moment catalyzes Maya's great pride in her heritage and also inspires her passion for black poets and orators. So next is Dolores Taclan, Big Billy's brave and proper living girlfriend in Los Angeles. So Maya spends the summer with them when she is 15 and drives Dolores into a jealous range. Maya's decision to show compassion toward her shows Maya's capacity for mercy despite her self-aware and proud nature. So next is Louise Kendricks, Maya's first friend outside her family. So when she is with Louise, Maya is able to escape her troubles and play like a child should. So next is Tammy Valdon, an 8th grader who writes Maya Valentines. Maya reacts with hostility at first, distrusting any man's advances. After the rape, she softens when Tommy writes her another letter showing that his interest in her is sincere. Next is Joyce. Joyce is Bill's first love, with whom he loses his virginity. Joyce's relationship with Bailey foreshadows the troubles associated with adolescent sexuality that Maya feels experience in San Francisco. 4 years older than Bailey, Joyce turns his innocent displays of sexual curiosity playing Mama and Papa into sexual intercourse and eventually runs away with a real rude porter whom she meets at the store, leaving Bailey broken and morose. Next is Dr. Lincoln, a white dentist in Stamps, to whom Mama lent money during the Great Depression. Mama's staunch efforts to appeal to his sense of ethics to support her in treating Maya's thought shows both her resolve and her ability to act unethically out of necessity. So the scene also reinforced Maya's impressions of Mama as a superhero. Next is Miss Kerwin. Miss Kerwin treats Maya like an equal human being, regardless of her color. And then next is the plot. So in the plot, it consists 36 chapters. So to begin the story, it starts in the prologue. It describes an event which Angelou, as a small child, is reciting a poem in church, feeling ugly, because she imagined in vain that the dress her grandmother made her would be so pretty that she would be seen as a beautiful white child. But she forgets the poem and then whips her pants as she flees the church in embarrassment. So she runs crying while other people laugh at her. So next is the chapter 1. So at the age of 3, Maya and Bailey's parents divorced, so their parents decided to send the children to live with the father's mother, the mama. They were sent to Stamps, Arkansas to live with their paternal grandmother, Annie Henderson, and her disabled adult son, Willie. So Annie owns store in the black section of Stans. The store is the center of the community. So everyone does their shopping there, and men come there after a long laborious days working in white. So before, black people are separated from white people. So black people are a slave and low class that time. So Willie, who was crippled in childhood accident, acts as a children disciplinarian. So Maya understands and sympathizes with the tiring pity and contempt Willie must feel. And the incident makes her feel closer to him. So there are times na he tried to pretend that he is not disabled person kasi many people bullied him because of his condition. So during this time, Maya falls in love with reading, especially William Shakespeare, though she feels a bit guilty because Shakespeare was a white man. So in the evening, at the store, after a long day's work, Willie doesn't stutter or shake like he does during the day. So Maya and Annie wonder what happened to Willie. Then, one afternoon, Mr. Stewart, the white former sheriff, comes to warn Mama that the white are on the warpath because they say a black man has messed with a white woman. So Mama hides Willie in the potato and onion bins in case the move comes to the store looking for the scapegoat to lynch. So luckily, it does not. But Maya clearly notes Willie's moans coming from the bins. Marguerite reflects that it is lucky that the clansman didn't ride to their house that night, for they would have found Uncle Willie and lynched him. So it was too hard if the black people messed with the white people because they can easily attack black people and kill them because white people is more powerful than a black people. So Maya considered Bailey the most important person in her world. So Margaret playmates describe her as being shit color. But Bailey protects Margaret and punishes those who make fun of her looks. So Bailey is Margaret's source of hope and reassurance in a difficult childhood. So chapter 5, Mama insists that the children observe rules and respect their elders. So one afternoon, a group of poor white trash children comes down to the street towards Mama's house. The children harassed Mama. This event shows that even the mendicant white children did not respect black people. Even Mama is older than them, but Mama still respects those child and call them Miss when they say goodbye to her. So Margaret is furious and doesn't know how Mama could stand to call them Miss after they did such thing to her. So for them, calling Miss or Mrs. is a respect. If you are being called Miss or Mrs., you are in a high status. So Reverend Howard Thomas, the presiding church elder in the district, visits Stamps every 3 months. So Mama is very active in local church. So every 3 months, when the presiding elder visits the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church in the Stamps, he stay at Mama on Saturday night and then preaches at the church on Sunday. Then Mama does not believe it is safe for black people to speak to white, and certain not with isolants. So Mama does not speak too harshly of whites even if their absence, unless she generically refers to white as they. So Maya says that Mama would be called herself as a realistic rather than a coward. So once a black man accused of assaulting a white woman took refuge in Mama's store. He eventually left, only to be apprehended later. So in court, he testified that he had stayed with Mrs. Henderson. So the judge subpoenaed Mrs. Henderson, only to realize to his surprise that the accused referred to a black woman as Mrs. This unusual title, usually reserved for whites, indicates Mama's high status in her community. So the judge was shocked that the black man called Mrs. Henderson as a Mrs. even she is a black woman. Kasi that time, black woman is in a low class and they didn't call them as a Miss or Mrs. They just called them as at their first name. Next, in chapter 8, one Christmas, Maya and Bailey's parents send them gifts. The children go outside and cry, wonder what they did wrong to be sent away in the first place. So the children didn't expect the gift from their parents. So the gift confused them because they have not heard from their parents in so long. Both Margaret and Bailey cry. The gifts make them wonder all over again why their parents sent them away on the train when they were so young. Then, Daddy Billy, the children's father, comes to visit Stamps a year later unexpectedly. So when Margaret is 7 years old, Daddy Billy comes to town. He is a huge, exceptionally handsome man with a great sense of humor. So he tells Bailey and Margaret he will take them to St. Louis to stay with their mother. So Margaret is apprehensive, but Bailey clearly worships his father and is excited to go. So when the children see their mother for the first time, Vivian beauty strikes Maya dumb, and Bailey falls in love with her. So when Margaret saw her mother, she thinks that her mother is too beautiful and she is too ugly to be her daughter. So shortly after dropping them off, their father have left St. Louis to go to California. So Billy and Maya live with their maternal grandparents for 6 months before moving in with Vivian and her older fat boyfriend, Mr. Freeman, who feels insecure about his relationship with Vivian. So after 6 months of living in the maternal grandparents, Maya and Billy moved to Vivian and Mr. Freeman's house. So this is the part of Maya's traumatic experience in life. One morning, after Vivian has left the bed and the house, Mr. Freeman sexually molests Maya. He does not rape her, but rather masturbates on the bed while holding her closer to him. So at first attempt, Mr. Freeman does not rape her, but he masturbates in front of Maya. Maya doesn't know if it is bad or not because she is too young and innocent to know that thing. So in chapter 12, the second attempt of Mr. Freeman to touch Maya. In late spring, after Vivian stays out all night one time, Mr. Freeman sends Maya to buy milk. When she returns from the errand, Mr. Freeman rapes her. He threatens to kill her if she screams, and he threatens to kill Billy if she tells anyone. To that time, Maya is so scared telling anyone about what happened to her because she was so scared that Mr. Freeman will kill Billy, his brother. So a few days later, Mother says she needs to change Maya's linens. When they strip the bed, Maya's bloody underwear is exposed. So Vivian rushes Maya to hospital. So Bailey privately urged Maya to name the rapist, assuring her that he would not allow the culprit to kill him. So Maya trusted Bailey. She tell him that Mr. Freeman is the one who hurt her. Soon after, Mr. Freeman is arrested. Mr. Freeman is sentenced to 1 year in prison. But before his sentence even starts, he is found beaten to death outside the town. It is likely that Vivian's brother killed him. So meanwhile, Vivian also decided that Maya and Bailey could be better off in stamps. So Margaret becomes withdrawn and sullen and believes she is to blame for the fact that her mother has again decided to send her and Bailey away. So, Maya and Bailey return to Stamps. So, Mama and Willie treat Maya gently upon her return from St. Louis. So, Maya becomes muted and didn't talk to anyone because of the traumatic events happened. But Mr. Bertha Flowers, whom Maya reversed as the aristocrat of the Black Stamps, plans to take Maya under her wing and prod her out of her silence. So after a difficult year, Mrs. Flowers is the one who helped Maya when she was muted. So Mrs. Flower gave her books of poems and teaches her how to read, understand, and memorize them. So Margaret feels for the first time in her life she is liked, not because she is related to Billy or Mama, but just because she is herself. So after the traumatic events, Maya takes a job in Mrs. Viola Calanan's home at the age of 10. So Mama decides that Margaret should learn refined manners and therefore sent to work as a servant in a rich white woman's house. One evening, Bailey stays out until well after dark. While the mama do not mention their concern, but mama takes Maya with her to search for Billy. So Billy become more sorry and unhappy after being sent away from his mother. Mama and Maya walk down to the end of lane to wait for Bailey. Then Bailey arrives, unapologetic and sullen. So that night, Willie whips Billy, but Billy doesn't cry. Billy misses her mother. So on the way home, Billy tries to jump on passing freight train so he can ride it to St. Louis and be with his mother. So Maya can really see that Billy needs her mother and feels sorry because she blames herself that she is the reason why they sent back to Mama. So the annual revival mating interrupts the harsh daily existence in Stamps. So people from all of the black churches attend. This year, the preacher delivers a sermon admonishing those who practice false charity. Everyone knows it is a diatribe against white Christians' hypocrisy. So that time, Maya notes that those who attend the revival and those who visit the honky tonk that night both appeared to be trying to escape their harsh lives. Next, in chapter 19, people crowd inside the store to listen to the heavyweight championship boxing match on the radio, desperately hoping that Joe Louis, a hero for the black community, will defend his title. So one of the black men joined the boxing match, and people in the stands listening in the radio and hoping that black man will win. So in this part, Maya explains that if Louis lost, his loss would represent and justify another lynching, another rape of black woman, and another beaten black boy. But Louis wins the fight. So everyone in the store celebrates with abandon. So in this part, it shows that if Louis won the boxing match, they can gain power in a society. Kasi nga that time, black people has no power in a society. So in a 7th grade, Maya receives a note from an 8th grader, which is Tommy Valdon, asking her to be his Valentine. So when Margaret receives a note from Tommy, Margaret decides that she must ask Louise, her best friend, about the note. So Louise, her friend, explained that it is a love note and asked Margaret if she loves Tammy. The word love reminds Margaret of Mr. Freeman, and she says she does not love Tammy. So Margaret is so scared to attach to other boys because of the traumatic events happened when she was on the hand of Mr. Freeman. So the other part of this chapter will be discussed by Miss Rujas.
So in chapter 21, Bailey started to play sexual games with girls where he played the role of a father, then the girl would play the role of a mother, and Maya would play the role of a baby standing outside as guard. And after 6 months, he lost his virginity to a woman named Jane. Who is Jane? So Jane is a well-developed woman. And because Bailey loved her so much, he started to steal stuffs at his mama's store and gave it to her. But after few months, Jane left him behind, and Maya got so angry. She admitted that she never liked Jane, but the fact that she left his brother is what make her so angry, because we all know that Maya really treasures Bailey as much as Bailey treasures her, because they were always together every time. Since their parents left them, they only have each other's back. So whenever one of them is hurt, they feel hurt as well. So that's it. So in chapter 22, a townsman named George Taylor comes to the store and stays the night. Still heartbroken over the death of his wife, Florida, Mama urges Mr. Taylor to be thankful for the 40 years he spent with Florida. Maya then remembered the funeral service of Florida because she attended it, because Mama forces her to attend the funeral service because Florida brought Maya a yellow brooch. So that's why she had no choice but to attend to the funeral service. And Maya attending the funeral service of Florida was her first exposure to mortality. So in chapter 23, the 8th grade graduation happened, and it was an important event for the Black family. So they were really happy and excited at the same time. But it was ruined by the speaker named Mr. Edward Donlevy, because he was pointing out that the white students excels in academics, and the black children only excels in sports, not in academics. And after Mr. Donlevy gives his speech, Henry Red shares his speech as well, their valedictorian in the class. And he also lead the singing of the Negro national anthem entitled Left Every Voice and Sing. While singing the national anthem, Maya feels proud of her being a member of the Black community. So now let us proceed to chapter 24. In chapter 24, Maya suffered from a severe toothache. That's why Mama took her to the nearest clinic in town, and that clinic belongs to Dr. Lincoln. Mama believes that Dr. Lincoln owes her a favor for lending him money in the past. But the moment they arrived in the clinic, Dr. Lincoln told Mama that he already repaid the loan and that he would rather put his hand to a dog's mouth than to Maya's black mouth. So imagine a dentist saying that to his patient. So now let us proceed to chapter 25. So if an incident happened to Maya in chapter 24, in chapter 25 an incident happened to Bailey. So he returns home pale and shaken, and he asks, what did black people do for white people to incite hatred towards them? So that question is really something, no? Because he has seen a black man's dead, rotting body pulled from a pan. Grinning at the body, a white man ordered Bailey to help load the man into the wagon, and then pretended that he was going to lock Bailey and the other black man with the dead body. So the white man scared Bailey that if he will not help him to load the dead body on the wagon, then he will going to lug Bailey together with the other black man with the dead body. So after that incident, Mama begins planning to achieve to take Bailey and Maya to live in California with their mother. So after their mother sent them to their grandmother, now their Mama will send them back to their mother to, it is dangerous now already for Bailey to stay there, knowing that he was, threatened by a white man. So that's it for chapter 25. Now let us proceed to chapter 26. So in chapter 26, Mama lives in Los Angeles with Bailey and Maya, while Vivian, their mother, what do you call this one, makes living arrangement for her children. So this time, Maya and Bailey begins to see Vivian not just as a superhuman beauty, but also as a real person with fears and insecurities of her own. So that's it. So when Bailey saw his mother Vivian, he fell in love with his beauty. So that's it for the chapter 26. Now let us proceed to chapter 27. And now let us proceed to chapter 27 and 28. So in this chapter, Maya Angelou just pointed out how the black people really tried their best to really fit in the society they are really trying so hard to be part of, and that is the society of the white people. And aside from that, Maya Angelou also shared how she was transferred to a white school, and she is one of the only 3 black students there. And aside from that as well, she also received a scholarship to the California labor schools, where she studies dance and drama. So as what Ms. Vallente shared earlier at the author's background, Maya Angelou isn't just a novelist, a writer, an essayist, but also a great singer, a dancer, and an actress. And she was even, the first ever female black to become the first ever female black director in the history that no one else could. They never had a chance, and Maya Angelou had it, because Maya Angelou had it already. So that's it for the chapter 27 and 28. Now let us proceed to chapter 29. So in chapter 29, Maya and Bailey was introduced to Vivian's new husband. They called him Daddy Clydale. So Daddy Clydale becomes the only true father figure Maya ever knows. She loves him very much because Daddy Clydale loves them as well. And he is very dignified. He is not naughty. He has no inferiority complex about receiving little education. But he also lacks the arrogance usually also associated with the men of great accomplishment. So if a man have a lot of accomplishment, they will become arrogant. But Daddy Clydale is different from them. So Daddy Clydale introduced Maya to his friends, and his friends taught Maya to never put her guard down, that she should always fight for what is right, and she should never let those racists attack her in whatever causes. So, and that is for the chapter 29. Now let us proceed to chapter 30. So now in chapter 30, Big Bailey, Maya and Bailey's father took Maya to his home to introduce her to his wife Dolores. And Dolores and Maya don't get along well. One day, Big Bailey invited Maya to go with him on his shopping trips in Mexico, and Dolores got jealous. I mean, why would you get jealous for a father just trying to spend time for his daughter? And then after they traveled, Maya drove his father's car, and he didn't even seem to be surprised. Big Bailey didn't seem to be surprised to the fact that Maya could drive a car without even the knowledge on how to do so. I mean, Maya was, he was disappointed during that time because his father wasn't able to see his achievement. In for us, our achievements and their appreciations, our parents appreciations and our achievements really matters. It could lift our mood. It is another level of happiness. It is another level of joy. That is what an appreciation could give. So that's why Maya was so disappointed. And that's it for chapter 30. Now let's proceed to chapter 31. So in chapter 31, after they returned home from their shopping trip in Mexico, Big Bailey and Dolores had an argument, and it was overheard by Maya. So Maya peacefully approached Dolores and told her that she never meant to come between Big Bailey and Dolores, but Dolores rebuffs Maya's peaceful approach and told her that her mother Vivian is a war. So with that statement, Maya got furious. She got angry. Who wouldn't, right? And then she told Dolores that she will slap her, and she actually did. She slapped Dolores, and Dolores, on the other hand, got angry as well. So she stabbed Maya with a scissor. So Big Bailey brought Maya to his friend's house, and they treated Maya there, and Maya insisted and decided not to go home to his mother, because if she did, then it will just make the situation worse. The fight will not stop right there. Knowing that Vivian's daughter was hurt, so she will never really just let anybody hurt her children. So now let us proceed to chapter 32. So in chapter 32, after Maya left Big Bailey's friend's house, she spent the night in a car junkyard. And then in the morning, when she woke up, she saw a group of black Mexican and white teenagers laughing at her in the window. And then those teenagers told her that she could stay as long as she wants. She just need to follow the rules. She shouldn't sleep with the opposite sex, and then she shouldn't steal things. And then Maya stayed there. In during her stay, she learned to appreciate the diversity in the society. So they entered a contest every last weekend of the month, and eventually she won together with her partner. Then after some time, she decided to come home to his mother Vivian in San Francisco. So Vivian paid her ticket, and then the group of those black and white Mexican wish her luck for her departure. So now let us proceed to chapter 33. So Maya notes that she has changed much since the start of the summer, but Bailey, who also seems to have significantly shows indifference towards Maya's tales. Still, they share an interest in dancing and become a sensation of the big band dances in the city auditorium. So in this chapter, if Maya felt like she had improved a lot, it is the opposite for Bailey. So that time, Bailey started to date white prostitutes. So he began wearing flashy clothing, and Vivian, upon knowing that Bailey was dating a prostitute, she scolded Bailey and told him to stop the dating. And Bailey being stubborn, didn't listen. So he started to disobey her. So the start of the rebellion of Bailey against his mother. Then after a few days, Bailey then decided to move out from the nest, to move out from his family, to live on her to live on his own, because she believes that she is more mature now. So that's it. Now let's proceed to chapter 34. So in chapter 34, Maya Angelou just, showed us how persistent she really is. She even took a semester off to his school and to his work just to get a job as a streetcar conductor despite the racist hiring policies. And she did. She actually succeeded and become the first ever black person of as the first ever black person streetcar conductor. So have you observed? She just keep on breaking the walls of racism. She just keep on going off the limits of racism, and she always succeeds. So that's it for the chapter 34. Now let us proceed to chapter 35. So in chapter 35, Maya Angelou got her first introduction to lesbianism when he read Radcliffe Hall's classic work in 1920 entitled The Well of Loneliness. So Maya usually confuses lesbianism with being hermaphrodite, and because she wanted to, confirm to herself that she's not a lesbian at all, she started to ask questions to her mother Vivian about the things going on her underarm, on her, private part, about every changes that happens to her body brought by puberty. So she got curious all of those things, just to confirm that, she is not a lesbian. And then after asking several questions about the, puberty that changed her body, she then wanted to have a boyfriend, just so he could 100% she could be 100% sure that she is not a lesbian at all. So imagine the struggle she faced just to prove herself that she is not a lesbian. And then, but all the boys, all the guys he knew there in their hometown, all wants a girl with a straight hair, and Maya had a kinky hair. That's why in the prologue she dreamed that what if one day I woke up with my kinky hair being straightened, that her mother won't allow her to get it straight. And what if one day she woke up with a blondie hair? What if she woke up being white? So she dreamed of becoming a white woman, just so she could be accepted in the society. So that was the confusions she had in herself of being a lesbian was erased when she got pregnant. So she was sexually molested by his stepfather, she was raped, and she suffered from racism, and now she is pregnant. She is going through 10th pregnancy. So that's it for chapter 35. Now let us proceed to chapter 36. So in chapter 36, there is a scenario where Maya wrote a letter for Bailey to ask for her opinions, for an advice, and Bailey told her to just keep it a secret. And then Maya didn't abort the child, even though she was just too young to get pregnant, but she still accepts the full responsibility of becoming a mother. And then later on, she told Vivian and her stepfather, Daddy Clydell, about her being pregnant. And then Vivian was so scared for Maya's place, because she feared that Maya might get out of school because she is pregnant. But then Maya continues on going to school and announced on their graduation that she is 8 months pregnant. And Daddy Vivian and oh, her mother Vivian and Daddy Clydel calmly accepts her and her condition. So that is the plot of the I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. And now let us proceed to the styles of the author. So we all know that I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou is an autobiographical work of her that chronicles the life events of Maya Angelou from the age 3 to 6. And now let us proceed to the conflict. So the conflict is man versus self, and man versus the society. And now let us first talk about the man versus man. So in the autobiographical work of Maya Angelou, entitled I Know Why the Cage Sings, there are a lot of happenings in her life that I could say that it is man versus man. For example, the time where she was sexually molested by her stepfather, when her stepfather threatened her that he would kill Bailey if ever she opened her mouth and tell tell everyone that she sexually molested her, and that he even raped her. So that is one of the things that is man versus man. Another one is when she went to a dentist, where the dentist told her, Lincoln told her that it is better for her, he would rather choose to put her hand on the dog's mouth than to her black mouth. So that is an example of man versus man. And now let us proceed to the man versus self. So the man versus selfer was eventually during the time when Maya was struggling to herself if either she should tell everyone what happened to her, if she should just quiet, and then she chose to just keep it all by herself and not talk to anyone. And now let us proceed to the man versus society. So it is really clear how she was treated by the society that surrounds her, and it is not just her who was mistreated, but also all of the black people. And they consider her as someone who couldn't do better, who should just remain at the bottom and not go any further. But then that's how cruel the society they live in. And then that's all for the conflict. And now let us proceed to the flashback. So the entirety of the story is a flashback of Maya Angelou's life. So Angelou uses this intense flashback event to reveal the hardships that would result from the memory. So this is an autobiographical work. So all the events that is included in this book, in this autobiography, is the flashback of what she's been through in her past. And now let us proceed to the foreshadowing. So one of the foreshadowing the story is in the prologue. So in the prologue, the scene set in church, Maya is supposed to recite some lines of a poem, but is unable. Instead, she runs away crying and peeing while people laugh at her. So that is one of the foreshadowing. And now let us proceed to the theme. So the theme of I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings is about acceptance. Accepting our own lapses in life, what we lack, and making these things as a stepping stone to achieve more in life. Maya suffered from racism. She was sexually molested. She was raped by her stepfather. She suffered from teenage pregnancy. But she keeps on dreaming and aiming for a world where everyone will have places that is free from all the negativities in life. So, just like what Maya Angelou did, she accepted who she really is, that she is a member of a black community, that she have a kinky hair, that she lacks all the beauty of a white woman does, but it doesn't stop her to keep on dreaming, to keep on achieving what what she what what she really wanted. And a lot of things happen to her life, even the unexpected one. So that is the theme of the I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now let us proceed to the cultural implication. So I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is historically significant because it does not only reminds the readers of the horrors our society has avoided repeating, but details the pain and loss that black people endured at such a cruel point in American history. Culture is an extreme feature in this story, that is for sure. Social correctness at the time is based primarily on racism, and even as a young girl, Maya both witnesses and experiences the horrors of this fact. So Maya, so this autobiography showed us how black people are being cruelly and mistreated in the American history. So that is the cultural implication of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And then Angela struggles with her life due to the fact that she is not only of color but also a woman. The black female is assaulted in her tender years by all those common forces of nature. At the same time, she is caught in the tripartite crossfire of masculine prejudice, white illogical hate, and black lack of power. Discrimination allows Maya to see the truth of the world around her as she begins to allow her thoughts to differentiate from what is expected of her. So imagine if Maya Angelou wasn't discriminating. So if Maya Angelou isn't a member of the black community, so do you think she will her eyes will open to the discrimination, to what is really happening in the world? I think no, because she will never, she will never knew what it really feels to be discriminated, to become a member of a black community, to become an African, if she had not been through it. So also, Angela dislikes the fact that she is supposed to go along with the path already set out for her based on the surroundings cultural atmosphere. Maya is a clear example of a strong individual with equally strong morals, while society around her, particularly those close to her, is at times confused as to why she believes the way she does. Maya isn't ashamed. At certain points in the story, she comes across as proud when relating to her thoughts about the culture of her time. So, Maya is a clear, as what I've said, Maya is a clear example of an individual with equally strong morals. So, as what I've said earlier in the plot, she's really strong. She's very persistent. That she even ended up almost achieving all the first that a black person could do. So she conquered all those boundaries of racism and achieved the things that and achieved the things before she died that no one else could. And now let us proceed to the implication of the title. So, the autobiography describes the opposing experiences between two birds. One bird is able to live in nature as it pleases, rather, while a different caged bird suffers in captivity. Due to its profound suffering, the caged bird sings, both to cope with its circumstances and to express its own longing for freedom. So the caged bird represents the black people, and then the free bird are the white people. If we will be contented on everything we have right now, if we will just be we will just be okay with what other people think of us, that we couldn't do all the stuff, that we couldn't reach what we wanted, then we will never become successful. We will never become big because we don't have big dreams. And then it reminded me of the song Go Big or Go Home by In Hypen, where it's either you dream big, then you go big, or you go home. So that is what I could think of. So dreaming big things in life, being ambitious is not bad at all. You know, we have to dream big. We have to become ambitious because it will serve as our motivation to work harder and to make sure that we can achieve it. So that's my personal evaluation of I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. Thank you and God bless.